Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namah Shri Shankarananda Gurupadambu Janmane Savilasa Mahamohagrahagrasaika Karmane. We saw, what did we see? We saw some things yesterday, that we saw the operation of the mind in revealing an object thanks to the works such as Upadesha Sahasri and by Adi Shankaracharya, and the other one Manasollasa by Sureshwaracharya, student of Adi Shankara, direct student. And so we saw how the mind operates in, what is the role of the mind in illumining an object, or in other words, bringing an object to light. And we saw that there are two kinds of vritti vyapara, meaning activities, in terms of the mind being an agent of the knowledge. So certain things are, whatever is there is revealed by the mind, correct? And so we saw two operations. So one is vritti vyapti, and we saw it through that the molten metal being poured into the mold, taking the whole shape of the mold, that is called vritti vyapti, where the sense organs go and contact the sense object, whatever object is there. But you see, the thing is, the sense organs don't function on their own. It is backed by the mind. So it's almost as the mind goes behind the sense organs, and the mind backs the sense organs to do this activity number one, vritti vyapti. Then the information is brought to the mind, and then the mind, and the mind already has some idea what is going to be revealed, because the mind knows, and even if it doesn't know, it has some, it has some impressions, and based on the impressions, it will have a certain idea, and then when the sense organs go and bring back the information, janami ghatam, ghatam janami, I know pot, that is operation number two, phala vyapti. So, if we just give an example to understand this better, let's say you come to the house, you come to your house in the dark after attending some, event, late night event, you come back, and then, you see a sleeping figure, with some kind of a sleeping figure with a covering blanket, where, on your porch. And then, you just say, what on earth is going on? And it's all dark. Let's say you can't, find the light switch anywhere, or you're in a hurry. So first thing you do is you uncover you lift the blanket. And then what you do? You shine the light to find out who it is. And then you find out it's your friend who had come to visit and, didn't have time to call, or tried to call but your phone was off, whatever it is. And so then just curled up with a blanket, on the front porch, or on the chair on the front porch. So then, so the action of lifting the blanket to find out, is called vritti vyapti. Uncovering the object, by contacting the object is called vritti vyapti, and then you shine the light to find out who it is, whether, that is phala vyapti. Oh, this is my long lost friend who just took a chance and just, some kind of a person who doesn't call in advance, a spontaneous, kind of a happy-go-lucky, free-for-all person who is your friend, underneath the blanket. So even though these are two actions. You uncover the blanket and then you shine the flashlight. But in reality, when we talk about how the mind operates, these two are not consequential. In fact, they are happening simultaneously. Okay? So if this much is understood, then we can go a little further and see that the mind that is going and contacting the object, it is uncovering the object by surrounding it with the sense organs. The mind which is blessed by consciousness, has its own way of uncovering the object. And how does it do that? Because the object is covered by ajnanam, or better to say tamas. Tamas means you don't know what it is, that's all it is. And the object is unable to reveal itself. So covered by tamas, as though, this is just an explanation. So the object is as though covered by tamas, meaning, let's say it's a pot. So it's a clay pot. The pot does not say, hello, I am pot, look at me. It is not self-evident, unlike you, correct? And then it is, it doesn't know it is pot. So therefore it is covered by tamas, because, but whereas you are blessed by what? You are blessed by that consciousness which can reveal itself, and it also has the power to reveal other things, all other things in the universe. Correct? With the help of the mind. So now, so the mind, as I told you before, is made from the sattva aspect. Sattva means very pure aspect of the 5 elements, of the subtle 5 elements. So the object is gross and the mind is subtle, and with the help of the sattva mind, the tamas is uncovered by the mind actually going and taking the shape of the very object it is seeking to reveal. Okay? Now, and then that revelation, is that information is brought back to the mind, and then, I know this for sure. I know that this is the space of my friend, the person who was sitting on the porch or sleeping on the porch covered by a blanket is none other than my friend. This knowledge takes place. So even though there are two vyaparas, activities, this is just a simultaneous one. Even though we are constrained to talk about it, as though it is happening sequentially or consecutively, there is no loss of time. So this is one thing we have to remember or know about how the process of cognition, the sophisticated explanation in Vedanta to, unfold the process of cognition of objects. Okay? So now, that is number 1. Number 2, we have to understand that in the revelation of an object, the mind is an agent. And it takes on that agency. The mind is an active agent because the mind disciplines the sense organs, directs the sense organs where to go and what to reveal and how to reveal, and the mind is backing the sense organs. And so the mind is an active agent in the pramana vyapara, in the operation of the pramanas. Which pramanas? The not shabda pramana, not not Vedanta. Yeah, in Vedanta the mind is, is just there. The mind is not an agent. It is just a place where the revelation is taking place. But in all other pramanas, sight, hearing, inference, the mind is both the agent as well as a place where the revelation is taking, shape. You see, this is where the jīva srishti, this is what we have to understand. So in all other pramana operations, except Shabda Pramana, meaning Vedanta, the mind is an active fellow. The mind is an agent of this knowledge. And, any knowledge that is there, knowledge of objects, not the knowledge of subject. So in the matter of knowledge of objects, the mind is both the agent of the knowledge and also a place where that knowledge is revealed, ratified, etc. this is number 2. Number 3, the mind is not a clean slate. It is the storehouse of what is called, the unconscious. Antahkarana, the mind, is a storehouse of raga, dvesha, pain, sorrow, memories, grudges, resentment. You got it. All kinds of impressions from this life, early childhood, maybe even past life, some tendencies, vasanas, all these things are there in this complex, agent called the mind. So in a way, you can say the mind is an already biased agent. It's like a detective who has already come to certain conclusions. So the detective goes with a magnifying glass and yes, something is revealed, but then that revelation is what, it also has certain judgment, critique, etc. is inbuilt into the revelation. Because the revealer, has a component that is subjective. Because the mind has this twofold role. One role is to be the store, where else will all the grudges go? To be the storehouse of all grudges and resentment. And the mind has the other portfolio of revealing objects. Is it a surprise then that the mind is, that the mind is somewhat biased in the process of this revelation? And so that bias which it brings to the process of revelation is called jīva srishti. And the revelation itself of the object, that object is Ishvara srishti. Bias that the mind brings in the process of revelation is jīva srishti. Very interesting. And so this is, if this is understood, then we can go further. And so let me just make sure that these 3 verses that we saw yesterday, the examples from these Upadesha Sahasri, etc., and Manasollasa have been assimilated. Yes? No? Need more explanation? Need have more questions? Clear so far? Okay, good. So then, if that is clear, and if you have any questions, you can ask. So then, then verse number 31 is going to tell us that it's going to tell us about this twofold cognition. Yeah, if it feels like it, then it is there. Yeah, so the verse number 31 is very important because it's going to conclude from these 3 examples what the author is trying to show. So we'll chant that and we'll look into that. Satyevam vishayau dvausthaha, Satyevam vishayau dvausthaha, Ghatau mrinmaya dhimayau, Ghatau mrinmaya dhimayau, Mrinmayo manameyasyaat, Mrinmayo manameyasyaat, Sakshi bhasyastu dhimayah, Sakshi bhasyastu dhimayah. Sati evam, if this is a fact, if this is understood, evam sati, then we can come to the conclusion, Swami Vidyaranya says, that there are two pots. So we are coming back to the pot example. Vishayau dvausthaha, that in every cognition there are 2 aspects or 2 objects that are revealed. 2 objects. And what are these objects? Ghatau. So first what it was, I set out to objectify the ghata, correct? To objectify the pot. And then in the process what happened? I discovered that there are 2 pots. Upon inquiry, I understood that there is not just 1 pot, there are 2 pots. Where did the second pot come from? So one is called Mrinmaya Ghataha. So that which is Mritvikara. Mritvikara means a modification of clay. So, Mrinmaya it's a modification of clay. So, that is very clear. So, this is revealed through the operation of sight, etc. Vritti Vyapti, Phala Vyapti, all these things we have seen. So, this is what is called Mrinmaya Ghata. Mrinmaya Ghata means the clay pot. A pot which is shaped with the help of clay. That is the first pot. And then Vishayau Dvaustha, two things are there, it was told. And then Ghatau, two pots. One pot, what is the first pot? Mrinmaya Ghataha. And then the second pot is Dhimaya Ghataha. What is this Dhimaya Ghata? Dhimaya Ghata is Buddhistha Ghataha. So the Ghata, the impressions about the Ghata based on memory, vasanas, prior knowledge, smriti, which is memory, and then, bhranti, confusion, wrong understanding, all these things, feelings about the Ghata. I love Ghata, I hate this pot, I don't care for this pot, neutral. So, all these things, I don't care either way about this pot, I love pot, I hate pot, is lighted up along with pot. Pot cognition, I love pot cognition is glommed together, inseparable. And even though it shines as one, there are two cognitions there. So Swami Vidyaranya would like us to differentiate this subtle separation. And then, so that is the first line. So, very easy Sanskrit. Sati evam sati, if this is the case, then what? We have to understand Vishayau Dvausthaha, the objects that are revealed are namely what? Two, not one. And let us say the object is a pot. Then we have Mrinmaya and Mrinmaya Mritvikara, and then Dhimaya. Dhimaya is how I feel about the pot, and then Mrinmaya is the actual clay pot made of clay. So in other words, there are two pots. One is what? A mental pot. And then which is called Dhimaya Ghataha, and then we have what? A material pot made of clay. So now what to do with this? What to do with this? What to do with this information? Understand it at length. You have to understand it at length. So, and then how to understand it at length? Go to the next line, because he is going to explain this in a very unique way. Mrinmayo maname yasyat. With the revelation of the clay pot, the revelation of the clay pot is dependent upon pramana vyapara, meaning the operation of the sense organs, etc., means of knowledge. So the operation of the means of knowledge reveals the clay pot. Like I spy with my own eyes this pot which is made of clay. So the nishpatti, the establishment of the clay pot or the bringing to light of the clay pot is complete. But Swami Vidyaranya says that's not the whole story, dear folks. There is something else on a subtle level operating. And along with the revelation of the pot, I want to have this pot. That thought is also revealed. So the question, the very important question is, if the revelation of the clay pot is dependent upon pramana vyapara, don't get confused by Sanskrit. Pramana vyapara is just a technical term for what? The operation of the means of knowledge, in this case the eyes. So if the clay pot is dependent upon the eyes to be revealed, upon the sense organs to be revealed, upon a means of knowledge, even inference, for it to be revealed, then what? then the $1,000,000 question is, how is the mental part revealed? If the material part is dependent upon the operation of the pramana called sight, operation of sight, what about the mental part? This is clay pot revealed by sight, correct? Backed by the mind, all this we have seen. But then I want this pot right now. It is very ancient and it is wonderful. It has all these designs, and then maybe let's make let's go all the whole hog and say it is a priceless legacy of the Ming dynasty in China. So it's a historical, very important pot. And where are you sitting? At an auction. Yeah, you are sitting at an auction. And then I want this pot. First you see, oh, it's a clay pot. And then you don't even just see it's a clay pot. You say, oh, it's a wonderful clay pot. You see, that's where it is. It's a beautiful pot. It's a beautiful clay pot. So that beautiful is, dhimaya. Clay pot is mrinmaya. Clay pot is the material object, and that word beautiful, I want this pot, it is wonderful to me, it pleases me, mahyam rochate, it pleases me very much, it is pleasing to me, is what? Is a mental conclusion. So, how is this mental conclusion revealed? Huh? How is this mental conclusion revealed? The mental conclusion cannot be revealed by the operation of the pramana. You don't see the mental conclusion. No, I infer the mental conclusion. How can you infer the mental conclusion? The inferer is, inseparable from the conclusion. How are you going to do that? So, so what is, so the second conclusion. What is the second conclusion? Beautiful clay pot. Beautiful clay pot, how is that revealed? It is revealed through what is called, witness consciousness. What is this witness consciousness? Witness means it is directly revealed. So the actual part is revealed through the pramana vyapara. Actual means the clay pot. You're sitting in Sotheby's auction. This Sotheby's, some, rich, auction house in England. So you're sitting there, and then everybody is showing one card. I want to pay this much for this pot. So you walk in late. You wonder what this halla, this commotion is all about. And then you sit down, and then you see what is the object at hand that is being auctioned. You say, oh, what a wonderful clay pot. So you see the clay pot is, manameyaha. It is revealed by it's revealed by what? It's revealed by the mind. Revealed by the mind as an agent of the knowledge, and the mind of course is inert. It is blessed by consciousness. We know that, But a wonderful clay pot. Oh my God, I'm glad I am attending this auction. This wonderful clay pot is right here. That conclusion about the clay pot is directly revealed by the light of Atma, without taking recourse to the mind. And that light of Atma obtaining here as what? The witness of the mind. That is what the whole thing is. The witness of the mind. So this is just basically explaining the first verse of Drik Drishya Viveka. Rupam Drishyam Lochanam Drik Tat Drishtva Driktu Manasam Drishyaha Dhivrittaya Sakshi Drigeva Natu Drishyate. Very beautiful. So when a form is to be revealed, then the seer is the pair of eyes. So the pair of eyes is the seer of the form to be revealed. The form to be revealed is seen, object, subject. So what is the subject in relation to, let's say, let's go back to the clay pot example. You enter the auction house and your eyes, you clap the eyes on the clay pot, and the eyes become the revealer subject, and then the object is the clay pot. And then let's say, an eyelash or a piece of dust enters the eye, and then you just, rub the eyes and you can't see properly. And then what happens, Then you pass by a mirror and then you look at the eyes and then you remove the piece of dust or the eyelash. And then, what are you looking at now? You are no longer looking at the pot. So the eyes are no longer the seer because you are actually looking at the eyes, correct? So here there is a shift from the eyes as the subject, because that's what everybody takes it. If you haven't studied Vedanta, you see the eyes as the subject and then the object that is to be revealed by the eyes. But then you see the eyes are actually inert, they are actually servants. And then what? The mind is the master. Tad drishtva. So when you look at the eyes in the mirror to find out the cause of the disturbed vision, and then what happens? How do you know there is disturbed vision? Driktu manasam. So the mind becomes the seer and the mind is the subject, and then the eyes are the object. You see, there is a shifting this thing. And then what? Then you say, you know what, I don't feel very happy today. I'm a little restless. I'm a little worried about something. I'm a little, out of sorts mentally. Then the mind is no longer the seer. The mind is the object of your perception. And then what? The dhivrittayaha, so the various states of the mind, vritti in the buddhis, the various thoughts in the mind. When you say, I am restless, what do you mean? I am observing the restlessness which is occurring in the mind. I am sad, I am observing the sadness occurring in the mind. Correct? I am happy, I am ecstatic, I am observing the happiness occurring in the mind. I am afraid, I am observing the fear occurring in the mind. So who is this seer now? Sakshi. So that consciousness which is, now got the status of being the revealer of what? The local revealer. Yeah, this is a Dada revealer of the local revealer. The mind reveals small objects, but then the mind itself is an object. And when the mind is objectified, then that consciousness which is reflected in the mind, so to speak, is the revealer. So that consciousness, the consciousness which is reflected in the mind reveals the objects, and that chit alone, that consciousness obtaining as the Sakshi, the Atma alone reveals the mind. The light of Atma directly reveals the various states of the mind. I am Ragi, I am a liker, I am a Dveshi, I am a hater, I am a, restless person. And then what? The ahankara, which is an important component of the mind. The mind has feelings, chittam, ahankara, the I notion, buddhi, the faculty of decision making, and manaha, the faculty that is indecisive. The judging faculty, the decisive faculty, the I notion, the I sense, and then the feelings, emotional component. All these comprise the mind. And then so the mind here, when the mind is objectified, what happens? The ahankara takes on the status of whatever is objectified by the mind. So the mind is restless, immediately the ahankara jumps and takes on that role and says, I am restless, because the ahankara is identified with everything that it takes on the credit of the revealer. And first of all, wrongly, it takes on the credit of the revealer, and then it identifies with what is revealed. So identifies with the mind, identifies with the pramata, knower, jnata, all these things, manta, thinker, and then what else? The one that is the revealer. Everything it identifies with. And so therefore there are two kinds of very subtle operations happening. One is a purely pramana operation. Both are blessed by the light of consciousness. The light of consciousness, as it obtains through the mind, which is involved in the operation of the pramana, is called manameyaha, mrinmayaha, ghataha. Manameyaha means known. That which is manayogyaha, that which is fit to be known, is what is known through the operation of the means of knowledge, sight, sound, etc. So the ghata is seen, and then you say this is a clay pot. And sometimes we have this, we have a ghata that is played. Yeah, you turn the pot upside down and you put some things on the fingers. In Carnatic music, the ghata is played. Let's say you walk into a concert, you don't see the ghata, but you hear the ghatam, Yeah, that is also manameyaha, mrinmayaha, ghataha. And then, oh, what a wonderful, how nicely the person is playing, what a wonderful ghatam. That is what? Dhimayaha, Sakshibhasyaha. So, and then this, then the question, the very important question arises, what is it going to, why should I know this? I mean, this is so, what is that? Intricate, if not complicated. It may not be complicated, but it is very intricate. Who on earth cares whether this pot is mental pot or material pot? And you say the two are together. This is a wonderful clay pot, or this is a dirty clay pot, or this is a, what is that? This is just a clay pot. Doesn't matter. I don't want it. I don't not want it. It's simply there. So, who cares? Especially when the two, you are trying to delineate something. This is, I am raising my own Purva Paksha here. So somebody can say, you are trying to delineate two things which you say are already together. This is a wonderful pot, is already together. And if that conclusion is together, along with the revelation of the object, the conclusion is also together, then who on earth cares what is the revealing agent of the actual object and what is the revealing agent of the revealer, in this case the mind? Why should I care? Well, Swami Vidyaranya would say, you should care deeply. Why? Because the mental conclusion, this is a wonderful pot, is at the core of the problem of samsara. Really? Yeah, it's at the core of the problem of samsara, because the mental conclusion, this is a wonderful pot, or this is a boring pot, or this is a neutral pot, is at the core of all of your problems. This is the this is the ingredient of jīva srishti. Yeah. And then what does the ahankara do? Let us look at this. This will become clear when we see what the ahankara does. So the ahankara, takes on the status of, like I told you, the ahankara just is a, insatiable, what is that? Karta bhokta is ahankara, the status of that which is the revealer, the ahankara, the I notion, gloms on to everything and takes credit for all the things that are revealed. All activities, the ahankara takes credit. Karta, bhokta, pramata, manta, shrota, vakta, everything. The trich, the trich means the agent suffix. Trich. Shrotru, that tru, like, and in English also we have ER, ER. ER means this teach, teacher, and then what else? Sing, singer, and then what else? Sleep, sleeper, dream, dreamer, wake, waker. So that ER is the English version of the trich pratyaya. So this trich is very interesting because that's where the, even though we say it's a small, it's just a through one syllable, and in ER 2 letters in English. So that is just a suffix. But the suffix is everything here because the suffix is the ahankara here, taking on what doesn't belong to it. In fact, the real ER is the Atma. Atma is the one that is, doing the revelation. But here the ahankara snatches the trophy of the revealer from the Atma and even from the mind and says, me, I did this, yay! And so what does the ahankara do? The ahankara says, I thought, I saw, I did. Who is the thinker? I am the thinker. I am the revealer. Okay? And so the ahankara treats the mind like a karana. Karana means you're just my servant, says the ahankara. Just go find out who it is. Go find out. Who that is. Go find out and go do this, go do that. You're just a little servant at my beck and call. You are that. You should just go find out and bring the information back to me, because then I will just put you on the side, and then I will say, I did this. Like you let's say the person has the person has a cook in the house and invites some guests. The cook cooks all day long and then slog, and then the host says, okay. And just when the time of the guest's arrival, the host takes a little bit of, what is that called? That you put in the kheer and all. Ilaichi powder. Ilaichi means, what is it called in English? Somebody? Cardamom. So you put a little bit of cardamom powder. It's got a wonderful aroma. And then so just as the guests are walked in, you time it such that, the payasam which had to be stirred constantly for 45 minutes, doesn't matter that the lackey did it, and then when the guests are coming, you just sprinkle a little, and the lackey powdered the cardamom also, pounded the cardamom into powder, not an easy thing to do, and then it's time consuming and it has to be a fine powder. And then what do? You just sprinkle it and give it the final stir, and the guests come and they see you at the fire and then just stirring this kheer, and then what happens? And then they conclude, oh, you have made such a wonderful payasam. And then what do? What does the person do? The person, is very mum, usually talkative person, doesn't volunteer the information that in fact it was the cook who did this. I am just timing myself to put this ilaichi powder. So like that, the ahankara is cardamom powder, the one who puts the cardamom powder at the end. The one who likes to take away snatches the credit and takes it away. So it deploys, the ahankara deploys the mind as the mind means here the vyapara, the whole, what is that? Taking the shape of the object, revealing the object, etc. Even though the mind does all the work, the ahankara, what does it do? The ahankara takes the credit and runs. I am the revealer. So then, this is what is called the Mrinmaya Ghata. Who is the revealer of the Mrinmaya Ghata? The ahankara is the revealer of the Mrinmaya Ghata. It says, it identifies with being the revealer. And then what about the, in the sentence, this is a wonderful pot. So the ahankara says, I am the revealer of the pot. And then who is the revealer of the wonderful? Ahankara is, mute. It doesn't know. It is a little bit confused. And then it says, what? It says, it identifies with the conclusion. It doesn't have the objectivity that it does in identifying the, in looking at the mind from a little bit of a space as the lackey. With regard to the conclusion, this is a wonderful. So in this sentence, this is a wonderful part. There are two components. There is the actual part and the statement, this is wonderful. The ahankara, identifies with the statement, wonderful, completely. It believes that statement. It has a higher premium for the statement, it is wonderful, more than the statement, this is a part. It has a higher value because it identifies with it more. There is less space between the ahankara and the conclusion of this, the conclusion of the mind. It has very less space. Why? Because here the mind vyapara is not there, because the mind itself is an object. And that, the light of Atma, is revealing the mind, and the ahankara is unable to see that because the ahankara is identified with the mind. Is this clear? You see, this is what the problem is, because the sakshi is not understood. And that's why in the Vedanta Shastra, one is put, where the ahankara is repeatedly brought to sit and be with the sakshi, to identify with the sakshi rather than the mind. The mind and the ahankara are just completely identified. So in the case of this is part, the ahankara takes away the credit from the revealer, which is the mind, and says, yes, I am pramata. Yes, bring me the information, I am the pramata. And then in the case of this wonderful, the ahankara believes that, to be true, and then what? Believes the state of the mind, identifies with the mind, and has a higher premium, on that states of the mind, because it feels real to the ahankara. That is what the whole thing is. So this is very ingenious, very, very interesting, and very, very ingenious, because this is subtle difference. Why should I care? I should care because if the sakshi bhasya feeling is seen to be as real as the knowledge produced by the pramanas, then I am in trouble. Yeah. In fact, the ahankara is doing shirshasana because it is standing on its head. Why is the ahankara standing on its head? What do you mean? Because it is believing a conclusion based on raga, dveshas, etc. It is believing that to be true, and then that object which is objectively revealed by the operation of the pramana, it is not, able to see that for what it is. So the overlay of the feelings always affects the object itself. So the object, even though it is revealed, is still covered by a patina of raga, dvesha, samskara, vasana, etc., etc. So this is a wonderful part. That wonderful and the part are always completely stuck together. And Swami Vidyaranya wants to separate, so you can look at this term wonderful from the standpoint of the sakshi and see that the mind is engaging in or identified with the feelings connected to the part. And this has nothing to do with the actual part. It has nothing to do with the revelation of the actual part. The feelings connected to the part is actually the process of the mind being revealed by the witness consciousness. It has nothing to do with the actual part at all. And so how I feel about the part, if that takes precedence, then the whole world will be bhogya prapancha, something to consume, and that is what is capitalism. Dear friends, because the whole world, seeing the whole world as an object of consumption, I want more of this, and even if this belongs to someone else, I want that. Well, you can't have that. Well, that's why I'm sad. So there is a projection upon the universe, upon objects in the universe that are non-separate from the objects. So the wonderful goes and joins the pot, even though it has nothing to do with the pot. The wonderful belongs to you, the pot belongs to Ishvara. Pot, Ishvara Srishti, wonderful, Jīva Srishti. That is why it is, it is very important to delineate this subtle thing. So you don't have a say over the pot. Pot simply is, and the pot has no ability to bring out either joy or sorrow in your mind. The pot is inert. The pot doesn't have the ability to bring out or to make you happy, to make you afraid, or to make you sad. Oh, then who has the ability? You yourself. That sorrow is centered on that same I that is identifying with the states of the mind rather than witnessing the states of the mind. So identifying with the states of the mind where the seeds of this sorrow, fear, etc. are already there due to previous samskaras, due to the unconscious. This is not understood, and so identifying with the states of the mind, the feelings about the pot or the feelings about oneself sometimes are projected onto the pot. Pot here means upalakshana for object, are projected to the on the object. So the subject overlays the object, the feelings about the subject, the antakarana of the subject, the inner instrument, mind, feelings, etc. of the subject is transferred onto the object. So the object becomes the source of happiness or sorrow. That's what the whole thing is. And so this is a big spoof, and this is what has to be downloaded, offloaded. I gave you that example yesterday. So when you have a computer that is running out of memory, your laptop is running out of memory, you buy a hard disk and you offload everything. So you free the computer. Similarly, all these impressions of the mind are offloaded in the sadhana called meditation, nididhyasana, dhyana, etc. Sparshan kritva bahirbahyan. So all the sparshas, all the impressions, all the sense objects that are loaded in the mind as wonderful, horrible, idiotic, etc., they are kept outside. So that's why I told you there are two pots, and that's why there are two mothers, two fathers, So one father is what? Mrinmayaha, or Pañcakoshamayah, Pita. Pañcakoshamayah Pita. And then the other Pita is Dhimayah. Yeah. Same thing with Mata. Pañcakoshamaya Mata. And then Dhimaya Mata. Two matas, two mothers, two fathers, And then, so therefore two parents, Dvau sthaha, what? Pitarau. You can say mother and father. Actually there are two sets of them. How are they two sets of them? One is the actual, modification of the five elements, all the space and, fire, Vaishvanara, all these things, fire, water, etc. You see the flesh, body, gross, body, mind complex, you see, you can objectify, and, that, so that is there. And then the other mother, the other set of parents is Dhimayau. So Dhimayau me Pitarau means what? This loaded in the mind as wonderful, so lovely. And then 1 minute, second minute, neglectful, abusive, horrible. Always they do this. And same thing with the spouse. And in fact, everyone is married to two people. One is the objective person and the second is the subjective person, and that is loaded on to the mind and glommed on, identified helplessly with super glue by the ahankara. And then what is the antidote of this super glue? Studying chapter 4 carefully. That is the key that separates this enough to have that inner space to look at these two operations objectively. So even with regard to the mother, father, spouse, child, so with the spouse I was saying there are two. One is the actual spouse, and the other is loaded onto the mind in the form of unmet expectations, rankling resentment, growing grudges, all these things. And the two come together and one is not able to separate because the ahankara is identified with the mind, That is what verse 31 concludes very beautifully. And then verse 32 is going to tell us what is actually the cause of sorrow, which we have already talked about, using bringing to light a particular pedagogy of the mind called prakriya. And here this pedagogy of the mind is called, what is that called? Anvaya Vyatireka. Anvaya Vyatireka Prakriya. So this is very interesting. This I don't know how to translate Anvaya Vyatireka. So I just said the law or the logic of what is called invariable concomitance. So concomitance means coexistence, the invariable coexistence. So like this, like in the presence of A, B is there. If A is there, B is there. If B is not there, still A is there. So what do you conclude? A is constant, B comes and goes. Correct? Yeah. So you see what is invariable in everything, and that is how you come to this dhimaya and mrinmaya part conclusion. So the actual part, the material part and the mental part, how do you come to this conclusion? Which is Jiva Srishti A? And then this next conclusion, which is the cause of sorrow? Is the material part, is the material universe, forget part now, is the material universe, Ishvara Srishti, the material universe, the cause of my sorrow, or is my mental universe, this universe, helplessly entangled or coexisting with, inextricably linked with the impressions of the universe, the cause of my sorrow? So is the material universe is what is making me sad, or is the mental universe making me sad? Let us find out through this, through this verse. Anvaya Vyatireka Dhimayo Jīva Bandhakrit. Anvaya Vyatireka Dhimayo Jīva Bandhakrit. Satyasmin Sukha Dukhe Sthaha. Satyasmin Sukha Dukhe Sthaha. Tasmin nasati nadvayam. Tasmin nasati nadvayam. Very simple, Anvaya Vyatireka. Through this pedagogical device, through this teaching methodology called Anvaya and Vyatireka. Anvaya, is that which is invariable. Vyatireka means that which keeps on changing. So the two together is the logic or the law of invariable concomitance, And, we can give many examples, So you can give many examples, and then, you can sort of see that, if there is some sound coming, some kind of a little, organ, or, this mouth organ or something is being played. You hear some sound. And then you look around, you don't see the cause of the sound, but you see a little child sitting there. And then, And then let's say this is happening at the airport, at the gate. You are also at the gate. This little child is also sitting at the gate. And then whenever that little child is there, the sound comes. There is some music sound that is happening. But you don't see the cause of the sound. You just see the little child sitting there. Then let's say the child gets up to go to the bathroom, and the sound also stops. Correct? Yeah. So whenever the child is present, the sound is also present. And then when the child is not there, the sound also goes away. So therefore the child must be producing the sound. And then sure enough, it has some kind of a game or something it is playing. So whenever it's playing the game, the sound comes, on a small device or something like that, you can conclude. So like this, so through this, we can conclude what? Dhimayaha, Jagat, Dhimayam Jagat is what? Jīva bandha krit, Jīvasya, bandha. So the cause of bondage of the Jīva. So that which causes bondage, the karta of bondage for the Jīva, Jīva bandha krit is what? Dhimayaha ghata or mrinmaya ghata. It is always dhimaya. So the cause of bondage is not the material universe projected by Ishvara. The cause of bondage is the mental universe projected by the Jīva. Bondage here is sorrow, etc., where one feels one cannot get out of it and one cannot stay in it. I have so many examples like this. People come to me and say, I can't stand this blank. Let's say job. You can fill in the blank. Let's say job. I can't stand this job. They come and tell me. So I'll say, please leave it. You are qualified. You have such high qualifications. You find something else. No. How? I have been here for so long. I'm not going to let them take the credit and do that. I'm going to slog to make this right. Okay, so do some japa, do something, and then, maybe work on yourself, go to therapy, whatever it is. Make it so that you can accept this job and then you can live in it happily. No, how can you be happy in this job? You haven't worked in years, so you don't know what it is like to go to the office these days. And that to this office and this job, it's horrible. Okay, leave it. No, how I can leave it? And now you can fill in the blank. This really is terrible. I hate this marriage. Okay, don't be in it. Leave it. This is terrible marriage. Okay, don't be in it. No, how to leave it? This is what is called bandha. So the mental projections are the cause of the bondage for the Jīva, not Ishvara's projection in the form of the universe. And how do we know this? And then the second line is going to tell how this conclusion has been arrived at. Sati asmin sati means in its presence. In whose presence? Dhimaya's presence. In the presence of the mental universe. Sukha dukkhe sthaha. The alternating cycles. The yo-yo life of joy, sorrow, little bit of joy is there. And when the dhimaya, dhimaya means what? When the mental universe is absent, then tasmin asati, when the mental universe is absent, they too, nadvayam, these two, sukha dukkhe, they are not there. These two are all gone. So when the mental universe is there, the sorrow and fear, etc. exist. When the mental universe is absent, then the fear and the sorrow are also gone. So what is the conclusion? The mental universe is the cause of the sorrow and the fear. Just like the child was the cause of the sound, this is Anvaya Vyatireka. This is the teaching, methodology called Anvaya Vyatireka. Then when is the mental universe absent? In sleep, Yeah, in sleep there is no mental universe. In dream there is a mental universe. But there are projections, there are fears, etc. All are there. But in sleep there is no mental universe. In a state of samadhi, in meditation, there is no mental universe. In a meditation means when the meditator and the chant become one, and then the world stops for this short period, that is called samadhi. There is no mental universe. There is only the material universe. And then let's say you get up too quickly, you black out, and then just fall down on the bed. You have what is called an event called syncope, a small fainting event. Murcha, there is no mental universe. So the mental universe is not there. And then in these three states, sushupti, samadhi, murchasu, in these three states there is no mental universe, and then there is no sorrow either. So what do we conclude? In the waking state and the dream state, sorrow is there, possible. Mental universe is also there. So the mental universe is the cause of sorrow. How more we will see tomorrow. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadagya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.